There, my name is Heather Feather. I am the owner of Rare Bird Medicine, and today's topic is Only Privilege Exists. And it's judgment that will tell you otherwise. Let's take a look, shall we? So, when I grew up, my mom would often move us to the best school she could get us into to give us the best education possible, since her husband drowned in the Brazos River and was never found, and she had to raise and feed 3 kids on her own. So she would move us into the apartment complex that was closest to the super wealthy neighborhood where we would get to go to a good school. And I was surrounded by people that were wealthy, that had what in the modern age would be labeled as privilege. They had big houses. They had, cars at an early age. They had VCRs. We never had one. By the time we got one, all those people already had DVD players. They had MTV in their houses, candy in their houses. They had all kinds of things. I had Sprouts and 12-grain bread. Thank you, Mama. Love you forever. Sainted Mother. So I could say, and did say, didn't use that word as a kid, but did feel that they had privilege. What great privilege. Clearly, I thought for a while God loved them more than us. God must love them more than us to take away my father and never bring him back, to cause us to be so impoverished, to barely have money to get clothes for the school year, for mom to have to put everything on layaway, to not have all these graces. But I also didn't grow up on white bread and sugar at a hand's reach. I also didn't grow up with parents that ignored me and never paid attention to me because they constantly worked to chase that paper. So when it comes to perspective, it helps to holistically look at the topic. Because I went to school with a lot of wealthy people, I got to know some of those wealthy people. And they didn't have what I would call the most privileged life. My mom worked all the time because she had 3 kids to feed. But when she was home, she gave me her undivided attention and love. I wasn't a nuisance or a problem that she had to deal with while stressing about this overwhelming job. I was her beloved child, and I knew it well. The point I want to make today is around what it means to express the magnitude of your spirit in a hologram, Maya, illusion, simulation, dreamtime realm. Many, many, many cultures call this realm the things I just said. Heather calls it hologram. I love the Hawaiian viewpoint of it being a dream as well. There are some Aborigines that speak to that. This waking world is the fake world and the dream world is the real land. All those concepts, I'm like, yeah, 100%, that makes sense. That makes actually more sense. It makes more sense if this is a hologram, because then a tsunami hologram is not as tragic as a tsunami. A body hologram is not as tragic as the loss of a body, especially if it's the only one you got and you only live one time. Let's take a journey pre-incarnation. Let's take a journey into Heather's mind. And let's journey into the realm of spirit, which is where I spend most of my time. And so let's consider for a moment that we're a spirit. We're on our 5011th incarnation. We are choosing another of the many colors of flesh costumes we could choose. We are choosing the gender identification and sexual identification that aligns with the story we're going to play out in a dream hologram opportunity to shine the light of our being. And most of us are choosing to the best of our ability as much opposition, challenge, non-privilege, quote unquote, non-privilege as possible. Because we know we are unlimited eternal spirit. An unlimited eternal spirit can get bored without the opportunity to express the magnitude of its evolution and understanding. So lifetime after lifetime, it takes up flesh costume after flesh costume and gives itself challenge after challenge or privilege after privilege to express the magnitude of character that has been developed through the lifetimes. And so the argument I'm making today is that every challenge, every trial, every tribulation, every hardened hour, every traumatic event has been nothing more than your greatest gifts. They have been your greatest privileges. It is actually from doing without. It is from being fed by food, not bombs, and dusting ants off a biscuit out of a trash can, that I have the privilege of having true gratitude for what it means to eat a meal. Many of my prayers revolve around gratitude for every morsel to quell hunger, every drop to quench thirst, every bed to lay head, and every shelter to call home. Because I know what it means to roam without those things. And what a privilege to have been without them. because I have the privilege now of truly being grateful for them, of understanding, because I've been without electricity and I've been without water, what a grace it is to turn that light on. And I have gratitude for it, which is truer to the truth of my nature. My nature is love and grace and light. That's my nature. And so every time I have a shadow hour or a quote unquote non-privileged or darkened or challenging or traumatic hour, it is in those exact moments that I'm given the opportunity to express the magnitude of my light and the preciousness of my being and my development and my evolution. It is in precisely those hours, in just precisely those moments, that I am given the keen gift and opportunity to tell the allness, to tell the universe who I be. And so we get into a flesh costume and we get addicted to the culture we chose, to the color we chose, to the gender we chose, to the sexuality we chose, and we label ourselves, and we label the world, and we fight with each other about how right we are about our labels and their labels, and us and them and us and them and us and them and us and them, and separate hologram. And what a dark, paltry sum of what you can hand me, Shadow thought. No, thank you. I am you and you are me, and we are all one in the living tree, and separation cannot be with divinity. So I may be playing a role right now called Heather Mackey as white woman, pansexual, actually two-spirit, which is actually all spirit, because I actually don't identify with being an individual spirit and an individual body. There are African tribes that are more aligned with the way I think, which is that we reincarnate, and we have the capacity to actually reincarnate into multiple flesh costumes at once. There's a Nigerian group that believes this way, that I'm like, yeah, that's what I think. And so the thing that I'm asking you to take a look at today is, what are your trials? What are your tribulations? What are your non-privileges? What are the challenges cast against you? The funny thing about life is that it does this revolutionary thing where when you take a stance, it gives you the opportunity, especially the more evolved you become, to take a look at the other perspective. And my life has been a long journey of that. If I just judge anything, divinity immediately intercedes and gives me the opportunity to look a bunch on the thing that I'm judging until I can make peace with and understanding. So if we want to judge white people as being more privileged because they don't have to deal with the consequences of a KKK being a judge, a KKK member being a judge, or being a police officer, or being a doctor, or being, and then we say, okay, they're more privileged. You don't have to feel as afraid when you drive your car of getting pulled over. Well, I'm afraid every time I drive my car, and it's not of getting pulled over, although I have had a cop yell in my face and tell me to stop crying like a little baby. Dude, I have the right to cry. But I have, because I've been in so many car accidents, 15 to 30 car accidents. 15 to 30 car accidents. So every time I'm in a car, I'm full of fear and anxiety, because the mathematical probability of me wrecking again is pretty high. Last May, I hit a dead deer in the middle of the road. So when we start to say that those car accidents that I've been in are a non-privilege, they haven't all been my fault. Some have been my fault, but they're this challenge, this burden. I wasn't taught to drive safely. I didn't get enough driving education to be on the road and be an effective driver. I wasn't given a fancy car when I was 16 and driving lessons or whatever. Every wreck has helped me to understand the chaotic nature of life. It's helped me to understand, to be more attentive. It's helped me to understand, to slow down my lead foot. Haven't done it yet, but it's really good advice. I try to give it all the time. It's helped me to understand how unpredictable life is, how opportunity comes in many different costumes. And one opportunity is to see who you'll be in the living tree in relationship to overcoming trial and tribulation. There was a time when I didn't think I would ever get over being assaulted at the age of 4 and losing my virginity to rape, and then having repeat experiences with men of being objectified and treated like I'm a body and not a mind and a heart and a hand to hold. And I just thought, I'll never get over this. And I really want to love and cherish the men of our world, because I am them and they are me, and I've been a man in the living tree, and I understand, my brother, who am I to come against thee? And what I know is that men objectify themselves because they think they are only the job or the car that they can provide or the sex that they can provide. And because they objectify themselves, they naturally, what the ego denies it projects, they objectify me. So what I know is that they're suffering. And what I know is that when they're, taught not to cry or to feel their feelings, they may be dissociated from the way they're behaving in the physical world because they might be less able to recognize it is sad to hurt somebody physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, right? And so I've spent my life being an advocate for men because, and I've faced all kinds of crazy crimes at their hands and trials and tribulations and traumas and betrayals and I'm sure I've had lifetimes where I've done same in female and male and they gendered costumes. And so we have our unevolved moments and our unevolved lives, and we have our evolved moments and our evolved lives. And every person is just a breath away from living their most evolutionary moment by being unconditional love and form, by not judging anything as the norm. But you see, privilege is a judgment. To say that you are privileged because you're this color, you are privileged because you are this gender, is a complete negation of any trial and tribulation for other color, other gender. It's a complete denial, actually, of reality. And the reality is that every two-legged that lives a full life is going to have many trials and tribulations, challenges, shadow, darkened hours, There are a lot of Caucasians, I would imagine, I've been one of them, that struggle with being the most hated race by many cultures through all time because they do some of the most psychotic things. And I struggle. It's like, why did I choose this color flesh costume? We are the most hated garbage humans of the planet. You know what I mean? Where am I supposed to get self-esteem from that heap of mess? I love history, and I'll read it all day. I watched it today. I was watching History on Africa today, and what a nightmare. I mean, it's about what the Portuguese were doing, but there's lots of dark history. And I'm sure I've had my super Christian lifetimes in which I was advocating as a man that women shouldn't have rights and God doesn't want that or whatever it is, just because I am this creature now that can have this liberal perspective or have this profundity or depth of understanding doesn't mean I've been that creature in all of the lifetimes. What I can tell you is that in every lifetime, all I've ever been given are gifts. All I'm ever given is privilege. When the lights are off and I'm without electricity, I'm given the privilege of appreciating light. When I am without water, I'm given the privilege of appreciating the opportunity to wash my hands. When I am given darkened hour, infinite death, 60 to 65 deaths, 15 to 30 car accidents, I don't even know how many sexually untoward experiences. When I'm given all of that, what I know is that those are all the largest privileges and gifts I've ever been given. I've been given the privilege of being a woman. I've been objectified and treated like an object in many, many ways, not like a mind, not like a voice that matters, not like a heart, not like a hand to hold, not like a loving, nurturing woman, not like an opportunity, but just a sexual, physical opportunity to take a piece and go. And what a grace. What a grace. Because I'm not this flesh costume, and this is something I know. So no amount of taking from any man could ever take from me the magnitude of who I be. You couldn't take it away. You couldn't take my innocence. You couldn't take my grace. You couldn't take my beauty. You couldn't take my love. None of it took away from me the lady, the being, the human that I choose to be. None of it. And the man that I choose to be, because I am all things. So today I'm asking you, I'm throwing my phone down. Dramatic ask. Today I am asking you, what are your privileges? What are the challenges, trials, tribulations that you have chosen to come to this place as an opportunity, a shadow opportunity to expand and express the magnitude of your light, your eternality, and your love that cannot be taken away from the living tree, no matter what any entity chooses to do unto thee? Egyptian shamanism is coming up on Wednesday. You can go to rarebirdmedicine.com, click on the classes link. There's more information there. Amun.